Thomas, the man, the myth, the legend.
Ah,
I am so grateful to have you here. I mean, I've been doing Paradox Process for 3-ish months now, and I have been waiting to have this conversation. So I'm really stoked to have you here. Thank you.
yeah, I'm excited to be here. I've seen you in passing. We haven't chatted about any of this. Excited to talk to you.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be, we want it to be an organic flow. So this is going to be great. And I typically start off these conversations by asking you what was the catalytic moment that kind of brought you to where you are today? What is like this? Did you have an enlightening aha that created Paradox Process?
It's interesting. I don't know how much you know about my history and background, but I used to be a traditional psychotherapist, right? And I experienced a personal loss, a personal disappointment. I broke up in a relationship, long-term relationship, devastating, right? And I noticed that none of the tools that I had addressed the pain the way I wanted it to be addressed. And none of the tools that were out there. I had a partner and we had a place called the Laboratory for Living or Life Lab and studied and taught every modality that was out there. And in the face of that pain, they all sucked. Okay. None of them took the pain away. And so we went on a quest to create a process that would get you hands on in an emotional experience, change the feelings immediately, and give you a new point of view or a new set point, a new way to go forward. And so we did a lot of experimenting. We ultimately came up with a meditation, believe it or not, that allowed us to state the issue that had an emotional charge and then meditate on it in a way that broke through the emotions like nothing had ever done before. So that was the seminal moment, really.
Yeah, because Paradox Process is similar to a mantra meditation. It's
It
like
is.
these, you have these keys. And for those of you that don't know what Paradox Process is, I would love for you to just explain from your perspective.
Yeah. I've been trying to describe it for, about half a century. So here's, here's my latest permutation. Here's the latest.
All
And
right.
I was thinking about it earlier today, and I was thinking if I had to describe this almost whimsically, I would say, imagine if you had a button that you could press anytime you were upset, and you could press that button, and that feeling would dissolve and be replaced by insight and information. Now, it's not quite that simple, but almost. It's really a process that clears the emotional charge and gives you a new point of view, a new perspective in time. I would say, I would say instantly, but I'd be exaggerating. I would say very quickly, you break through an issue. It's a
Mm-hmm.
language that you speak to the mind in, a command language for the mind, where you direct the mind to do what you want to do.
Right. You dub it as a feelings management system. And how I describe it is you have these verbal cues, which that's why it makes so much sense that it stemmed from a meditation because it's very similar to like a mantra based meditation. And how I described it to Brandon is that when you have this like charged wound or this charged feeling or emotion, it's like a balloon within you that can expand. And I say that your verbal or like when the practitioner is speaking to you and saying all of like covering all of the bases around this wound, it's like they're throwing darts at this balloon. And then when like I work with Andrea, who is an epic senior practitioner who works under you, I adore her.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like, she says one thing around one of my like wounds or this charged feeling, and all of a sudden it's like it cracks open. And I have this like liberating release. And so it really like neutralizes everything and it makes me see things from a different perspective. I mean, it's like you mentioned before, I've worked with a shamanic therapist, I've worked with a traditional therapist, I've worked with, I've done cognitive behavioral therapy, worked with so many holistic spiritual healers, and I still was holding so much pain and so
Yeah.
much anger within me. Why is Paradox Process so different from these other modalities?
Yeah, it's different because a lot of the pain that we have is subconscious. It's below the consciousness, right? So all the talk therapy in the world, even accurate talk therapy, is not going to get to that deeper layer. But because this is based on a mantra meditation, you use your conscious mind to get to the subconscious causes and release from that subconscious place. If I were to give you a picture or an image of how it works, imagine that you're holding issues that are causing you pain. You're holding pictures and images that are hurting you, right? He betrayed me, or she turned me down, or whatever it was. And this allows you to change that picture on a subconscious level. It dissolves the lie, so to speak, and shows you a picture of the truth instead. And so the truth is very empowering. It's very expansive, and it will dispel the contraction that pain is.
Mm.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, 100%. Well, we live 95% of our life from our subconscious, right? That's like the driver of everything, and we don't realize it. And so I think paradox process really helps you get a very clear subconscious, right? So we can navigate from our truest, like most authentic expression.
Yeah. I sometimes, and by the way, I'm a practitioner of talk therapy, so I'm, talking against myself, but I sometimes describe it as moving the furniture around on the deck of the Titanic. You can make some differences in your thoughts, but it's your feelings that drive you. And if you don't get to that feeling level, you're not going to change anything essentially.
Mm, right. I think for traditional therapy, at least from my perspective, I was feeling, but I think I was reinforcing the negative feeling.
Yeah. And that was my big complaint about talk therapy, that you get better at your story. Instead of getting out of your story or seeing a different point of view, you just get better at it.
Totally. And as a perfectionist, recovering perfectionist, I should say, trying, I'm a great storyteller. And so, and
Right.
I can pitch anyone. And so I think this process has honestly it's changed my life. And I really don't say that lightly. I've really explored so many different modalities, and I have never felt more connected and more powerful than where I am at today and how I'm living my life today. And I think it's multi-layered, and I've moved through a lot of different things and used a lot of different tools over the past few months. But I think that paradox process really lies at the core of that reason why.
Yeah. You're not waiting for change, you're creating change. And,
Mm.
I'd rather be at the helm than in the back of the boat. Okay. I'd rather be driving where I'm going. And this puts your hands on the wheel, so to speak.
Right. And describe more about the keys and like how you actually discovered the keys. Like, why are they what they are? AKA feeling
Why are
clear,
they-
affirm, clear. Like for me, when I first started talking about or learning about the keys, I'm like, how is this not a form of bypassing? Like, how am
Right.
I not bypassing my
Okay.
emotions?
So let's use the example of a keyboard for a computer, right? That when you hit a keystroke on the computer, it starts a macro, it starts a program, right? So it could be enter, or it could be delete, or it could be whatever, but it starts a program. Well, we use these keys or key phrases, and we name them to associate with the kind of issue you're dealing with. You talked about affirm clear. So you
Mm-hmm.
state a positive and you hit affirm clear. That does start that mantra meditation in a way that affirms whatever the statement is that you made. It's a keystroke on a keyboard. I was thinking earlier that we have the greatest computer ever created on top of our heads, and no instruction manual.
Mm.
And, if you can imagine going through life with such an incredible tool and not knowing how to use it, it's no wonder that people are in misery or desperation or despair. And so we've begun a process of identifying how the mind works and how to make it do what you want it to do. Look, you said you're a reformed perfectionist. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a reformed control freak, except I'm not that reformed. Okay. I've just found a way to do it that is effective and not counterintuitive.
Right. And control, I mean, I would say as a perfectionist, that's a form of control, right? And so I feel like they're one and the same. I don't know if you differentiate them.
No, no, no. It's the same impulse.
Right. But do you find yourself feeling like you're still controlling through the lens of this process? Like, how do you break that binary?
I'll show you how. That what I've discovered through this work is that we already have control and we just don't know it. That when you try to consciously control, it's almost like you're duplicating services. You're fighting against yourself because there's already an intention here. There's already a through line. You've already got the map for what you want to do and what you want to create. And when you start doing this work, you increasingly start to trust that inner plan that you actually have. And so you stop consciously trying to control or micromanage and you start allowing it. So I would say the difference is between forcing or allowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They both add up to you trying to assert your influence over the moment. But
Mm-hmm.
one is more aligned with your actual intentions and with the way things work.
Right. It's flow versus force. It's being open and receptive versus clinging and reaching, which I feel like, yeah, through these different modalities, I still was clinging to these modalities and outsourcing my power to these modalities and healers and tools, thinking that they were going to heal me. But Paradox Process helped me unlock something within. And now I'm in this stage where I love how I read something on your site, or maybe it was on Instagram, and you refer to Paradox Process as a tool that helps you or move through crisis to creation, or like most people approach it, they're like within a crisis period, which I feel like went to Paradox Process and I was like, help, I've tried a kind of everything and I'm spinning within myself. But now I'm in this full blown creation period. And I feel like you talk so much about manifestation. And I
Yeah.
actually want to get into that. This is a very buzzy topic right now, but I feel like you ground it in a really just digestible way. What is your perspective on manifestation in regards to the Paradox Process?
Well, here's the thing. And by the way, people come for the crisis, they stay for the creation, right?
Yeah.
Because the reality is we're always manifesting. We're always creating. We're not always in control of it. We're not always paying attention to how we're creating, but we're always making choices. And so what's interesting to me, there's three elements of manifestation, and none of it is woo-woo, by the way. The three elements are intention, okay, being consciously aware of what it is you want to create, burning desire, building the excitement, the visualization, the empowering of the thing itself, and personal power, taking your power back from the things you've given it away to and attending to detail in a way that you create what you want. So it's a very logical process of creating. And when you put all of that into your little biocomputer, then you start to make 1,000 different choices and micro choices based on what it is you want. And you start to shape the reality that you want to see show up. So it's not woo-woo at all. If you could slow the thing down, you would see every decision being made in order to render what it is that you want to create.
Are you familiar with human design?
I've heard about it. I only have a glancing understanding of it.
We'll have to give you your human design chart, or I'll have to do a little overview with you, because that is a process or it's like a science meets spiritual system that is quote unquote the guidebook, or like kind of like our operating system. Like it has these guides that help you move through life. It's different than it's very different than Paradox Process. I mean, it's more robust, and I feel like Paradox Process is a tool that you can kind of unlock wherever you are. And I feel like I use it on my walks outside. Like I feel like it's something that I always have in my toolkit. I even use it journaling now as well.
Yeah.
Repeating via journaling. But yeah, it's really it's been an incredible journey.
Yeah, one of the ways I've been describing it lately is that it's a tool, a way, and a path, right? It's a tool that allows you to interact with your feelings and emotions and change them on the spot. It's a way to get out of what you were involved in and to see in a different way. And it's a path to getting everything that you want, We're
Mhm.
capable of creating anything and everything that we want. And we're always doing it. We're just not always conscious of it.
When did you have the moment that, oh, this shit really works? Like, did you have a personal? Because I walked into Andrea's office after about five sessions, and I was like, "This shit really works." And she was like, "We should put that on a t-shirt," because everyone says that. When did you
They
have
really
that
do.
moment? When did you have that moment, or do you have a story that you can share?
Yeah, sure. When I was growing up, I had a father who was a soldier and treated us like the military. There wasn't a lot of warmth, there wasn't a lot of affection. There was a lot of criticism and a lot of discipline. It was a painful upbringing. And I left that house at 16 assured that there was no love there. You know, you're just going to have to do without.
Mm,
When we discovered this process, I was looking for issues that I thought were really impossible to break through. And I thought, well, believing that my father would love me, that's an impossible issue. And so I started working on that. And in the middle of that mantra meditation, accept the unacceptable, I saw with an absolute certainty, it wasn't even thinking this, it was a knowing that he absolutely loved us. He just didn't know how. He had no
mm,
tools. And it was a stunning realization that changed my life. And that's when I thought, this shit really works.
hmm.
It was really a revelation for me.
So much of your work revolves around love and matters of the heart. You recently, or you're doing a workshop right now, I believe, on how to make a great love,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. And I wrote a
Talk,
book,
and you
Love
wrote a
Game.
book too, right? Yes. Talk
Yeah.
to talk to us about like your perspective on love and how to create love within yourself and within a relationship.
Yeah. And you're right. A lot of my work has everything to do with that because I think that anything and everything that you're involved with, there is some love relationship there.
Mm,
And, our first order of business is cleaning up the relationship with ourselves, finding out how to love this person you've been with all your life.
mm,
And so, the first application of love is learning how to love yourself, learning how to appreciate yourself. You talked about affirm clear before. And one of the purposes of affirm clear, it's an exercise that I give people that do this every day for a month. For 60 seconds, state all the positives about you and say affirm clear after each one. And after a month, you will love yourself more than you did. And you will make a breakthrough because I think we're incapable of loving anyone and everything else until and unless we're loving this, right?
mm, mm,
And when you finally do accede to loving yourself, your heart is so much more open. You're so much more capable of loving the people around you, loving the work that you do.
mm,
And by the way, I think my definition of love might be a little different than conventional because I look at love as spiritual cooperation, that we have agreements with ourselves, with the people in our lives, and we have an agreement to give and take lessons, to
mm,
learn everything that we're supposed to learn from each other. And that when we learn those lessons, there's a fulfillment there. There's an
mm.
experience of that love. It's self-love and the giving aspect of love.
Right. And I feel like in a relationship, I mean, no, true love for me is someone that I want to like grow with and learn with and get messy with. And I feel like
Yeah.
you talk about the stage of suspicion, I believe, or like that stage of like kind of disruption within a relationship where you're challenging each other to move and grow. Like, how do you differentiate from being on a different page with someone than being
Yeah.
with the wrong person?
Well, you'll know that
You
soon
know?
enough.
Well,
But But first order of business, you got to recognize that there are different stages and that we arrive at them at different times, right? I could still be in that identification stage, that honeymoon stage, when you've moved on to differentiation, that suspicion stage. And if I don't know that that's a natural stage and that you're going through a natural process, I'm going to fight that or assume that it's over or it's not working. But if I
mhm,
know that wait, that's just a different location of love, then I can reconcile that with the trust that I'm going to get there too. And this is just something to learn.
Right. I think that was one of the biggest lessons with Brandon and I, because I move at a very different speed than Brandon, and I was trying to control that. I was trying to
Right.
force that upon him. And I
Right.
realized that, his story is not my story, and we're on two very different journeys, but we're living in harmony with each other. But yeah, giving each other space and love. And I feel like moving through the paradox process, it really helped me find love within myself 100%. I think that's probably at the core of it. And then it unlocked deeper worth.
Yeah. And, love is so much about acceptance, right? Self-acceptance, acceptance of your partner. And when you can accept that, okay, they're exactly where they're supposed to be for some reason, well, then you got to figure out why and how. And you will find those answers when you look for them. But you're right. There's so many different stages. The last stage, the creation stage is really the most fun. That's when the love comes back, the infatuation, the excitement, the building, the inspiration to, I don't know, build a family or get a house together or build a business or whatever it is, right?
Right. I mean, we all want to jump to that phase. So can you break down the phases for
Sure.
everyone?
There's identification or the honeymoon stage, right? We all love that one. And when that changes, we think it's over. Like, what's going on? The next stage is differentiation, where you realize, wait a second, there's a me here, and I've got to take care of this me, right? People polarize during that stage, and many people break up. But it's just differentiation. It's just deciding that we're different. Then there's assimilation, which means, okay, I acknowledge the us that we are. I'm committed to it. I don't know what I'm committed to yet, but I'm committed to this, whatever this is. From there, we go to an integration stage where we decide that we're committed to explore more, to find out more, to build more, to see what's actually here. No one's running away. Okay. An argument is not going to lead to the end of the relationship. So it's the beginning of real commitment. As you build in that stage, you start to build trust and mutual interest and respect. That's an exciting stage. You're not ready yet for the creation stage. That's the last stage. And that's when it's really, okay, you and me, we're going to make some things happen. We're going to start that family. We're going to start that business. We're going to buy a house. We're going to do all these good things. So it's those 5 stages. But you can imagine with those different transitions, it's pretty easy to lose somebody in transition if you're not aware that, okay, they're just going through this.
Right. I mean, how can you tactically move through that conflict resolution stage if you're not in, I guess if one person was in paradox process, I understood it, but I
Right.
feel like I almost, I struggled. I couldn't, I really struggled with it because I wanted to bring Brandon into it. But how can
Right.
someone tactically move through that even without
Well, I
paradox
think,
process?
I think first order of business, you have to trust. Okay. That first stage, the honeymoon stage, it's not really false. Okay. We're bringing our best selves, right? We're, putting on a suit and tie. We're bringing our A game, right? Everybody's shiny. But that's the potential of who you really are in that relationship. So if you could trust that that's not gone, okay, that's just taking a back seat to another thought process. So I think the answer to your question, how do you navigate these stages, is trust. And I think it's trust in yourself, trust in the process, and the knowledge that this is an evolution. Love is an evolving process. And when you understand it's not going to be what it was, but it will actually be better than what it was. You don't remember in the honeymoon stage, there was a lot of joy, but there was a lot of uncertainty, right? It's a fucking hair-raising ride, right? But when you start building honestly together, you're building on solid ground.
Right.
And so trust, belief, and certainly some form of processing the fear and anxiety has to be part of the formula for winning in the relationship.
So how can one hone more trust?
All trust comes from trust of self, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I trust me, if I trust where I'm at and what I'm capable of and what I can create, I'm going to let you go through your changes without getting too anxious about it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be able to develop a vision. So I think, if you're asking how do you get there by processing, well, you clear your fear, your attachment, your anxiety, your worry, your doubt, and your previous history, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're asking as a kind of citizen, how do you do that? I would say you've got to have the knowledge to know that it is an evolution and that you're going to be in one stage or another of that evolution.
Right.
It's like going to school. You're going to go through the third grade and the fourth grade and the eighth grade and so forth and so on. And you can't judge yourself for where you're at. You just have to recognize, okay, that's the stage you're at.
Right. One of my favorite quotes is just one of the lessons that I've learned over the years is to have blinders and to really like tune into like my own energy and my core self, my truest self, and just like kind of keep going. Maybe I'll get like drops of inspiration from people and expanders along the way, but it's like really kept me in my own zone of genius as I've been like putting one foot in front of the other as an entrepreneur. So, and that's a form of, you mentioned attachment, which is just really, it's something that it's within us and it can also, I feel like, be external as well. Can you dive deeper into how paradox process helps us kind of become more free and liberated?
Yeah. It sounds counterintuitive to say you got to detach from this, right?
Right.
Because that's the last thing you instinctively want to do. You want to hold on, right?
Well, it
But
feels like almost like escapism, right? When you say like detach, it's like, let me escape my reality.
yeah, people think detachment is not caring or hiding or being deluded, and it's none of those things. You're making a distinction between what you want and what you think you need, right?
Mm-hmm.
We ultimately don't like what we need, okay?
Hmm.
We'll be angry at that. We'll despise what we need. But what we choose is very powerful. So we're always working toward choosing your partner, not needing them,
Mm.
right? And it's a hard
Totally.
distinction. It's a hard concept. It's a hard distinction. But when you get there, you're lighter on your feet. You know, there was an image called Love in Chains, where two people are so attached to each other. They're so kind of attached at the hip that there's no freedom. There's no freedom of movement. There's no freedom in the world. There's no sense of ease. And then there's no trust. The only way you can build trust is by letting go and seeing with certainty, oh, yeah, that person's coming back or that person belongs to me. But it's through letting go, which is what detachment is about. It's not throwing away, but it's holding with an open hand. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's safety. It's just feeling safe within your own skin. And I feel like what you're talking about is codependency, right? Or like a trauma bonding to a certain extent.
Absolutely. And by the way, there's not just the major traumas that we go through, there's 100 little micro traumas that we go through that we
Totally.
also bond.
Yeah. And Andrea always tells me that, and I'm sure this is coming from your brain as well, but we all have traumas that are bookmarked by this emotional charge. And what paradox process helps us do is neutralize that charge. So we're approaching it from a place of like peace and clarity. Like it's no longer triggering us.
The reason I choose trust is it's a lot less work than distrust. Okay. Distrust is exhausting. Okay. It's like, really? I got to worry about that? I got to think about that? No.
Well, you're resisting. And that's taking you out of flow, right? And that's taking you out of just like manifestation, what's divinely meant for you, right?
Yeah. And, if you trust the plan, if you trust your plan, if you trust the agreement that you have, you're going to be lighter on your feet. And, love without attachment is ease. Love with attachment is
Mm,
pain.
right. And I think there was a phase over the past 2 years where, yeah, I just didn't have trust within, and I was kind of resisting my path, and that was pulling me into a state of depression almost because I was resisting my feelings. So I think
Yeah.
like, and I would love to like dive more into that, like depression and kind of trauma, because I think a lot of us are depressed and don't realize it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a very vibrant person. I have a lot of joy, I have a lot of drive, and I'm, like, very externally facing. But I feel like were parts of me that were really hurting, and I didn't realize that. Like, how would you describe depression or how people, like, yeah, hold on to their traumas?
Well, I think, I was watching the news earlier today, which is, it's an adventure all its own, right?
Yeah.
And thinking about, I have two sons, and thinking about what they're facing in the world,
Mm,
thinking about what they're facing in terms of climate, in terms of policy, in terms of pollution, in terms of economic challenges, just everything that's on their plate. And it can be overwhelming. First of all, if you don't have tools to manage those feelings, they're going to pile up on you. And ultimately, those fears and anxieties will weigh you down and be joined by a feeling of helplessness, which is really what depression is. It's helplessness in the face of anxiety, right?
mm,
And so I have a great deal of compassion for the younger generations because they have so much to deal with. And my thought has always been, we got to get tools in their hands so that
mm,
they understand what's true and what's not true, so that they understand how to be present with their personal challenges, even in the midst of what the world is presenting. Because I think if you focus on the ground around you, if you focus on what issues you're dealing with, you're going to stand a better chance of managing your way through. But when you
mm,
start being overwhelmed by it all, or piling all of your fears and anxieties on top of each other, well, it becomes this tsunami that just takes you over. So I think, what I would tell people is slow down, just deal with one issue at a time, and trust that there's an outcome.
mm,
One of the things I learned early on is look for what there is to learn. Just look for what there is to learn. And if you solve that, many of the issues will go away on their own.
mm.
Again, that's why, we have I think that we have a program in the school now, right?
Mhm.
That we're
Yeah,
teaching kids this process. And it's always been my dream to put those tools in the hands of kids at a time when they're so vulnerable,
right.
because that's when peer pressure shows up. That's when the fear of how am I going to make a living? How am I going to survive? The isolation, the loneliness, the depression. That's when these tools really count. And if you can build habits of managing your issues early on, those are
Mhm,
going to be lifelong habits.
mhm.
See, we come to it as adults and we have to integrate those habits, and it can be a little harder. It can be a little more difficult. But
Right.
for them, if you teach them there are natural and easy solutions to the feelings and emotions you're going through, and here's how, well,
Mhm.
you're going to do a world of good. You're going to create better people and better citizens.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I love what you said about curiosity, essentially. Like, if you're consistently approaching your day to day with a sense of curiosity, you're inevitably like infusing more levity. There's not as much strain, there's not as much control. You're just like living with more joy,
Right.
consistently a student.
It reminds me of what I tell people, that you're in the middle of a sitcom. You just don't know it, right?
That's your entertainment background coming out, right?
Absolutely. I hear the laugh track all the time.
But it really is so powerful that you are approaching, schools and integrating paradox process into schools and supporting children at such a malleable stage, because that's really where, I mean, I talk a lot about the chakras, and I just feel like
Mm,
that's a stage where there's just such they're probably in like their solar plexus stage, their power stage, which I feel like that's just like what you really are healing and opening up at the core. So it's actually, you're working primarily with high school students, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Junior high
that's
and high school.
right. Right. I actually think since we've been dancing around kind of what paradox process is, and we've been talking about these verbal cues, these mantras, if you will, do you mind if we do a short session so people understand and can see how it actually works?
I would love to do that. I think that's great.
I think it would be helpful for everyone.
Got an issue you want to work on?
So I think just right now, it is that perfectionism. It's that control. I mean, right now I'm at a stage in my life where the way I was doing things before is no longer working. Like
Ah,
I had more time and a little bit more freedom, and I am getting more responsibility. I am a team of one right now, but going to be a team of 2 and 3 and 4 hopefully in the next month or two. But things are growing very swiftly, but I don't have a lot of time to be kind of really nurturing my inner perfectionist, to be spending so
right.
much time on things. So it's like, how can I trust my inner guide, my inner wisdom, and that I have all the tools within to move through things like swiftly and efficiently and effectively. I think that's probably the most
That's a great
pertinent thing.
issue. So I'll approach it the way I would in a session. So
Okay.
the way I would do that is I'd create a zero that I want to get you to, and then determine how far from that zero you are. So I'm going to describe a zero. You tell me if this fits your issue. Let's say the zero we're going to work on is building and having enormous self-trust and self-belief that you're going to get everything done that you need and want done in a time frame that works, in a way that you feel ease, trust, and relaxation as you look at the now and you look at the future. Is that about where you want to be?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm probably at like a 5 in distance from that.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start firing questions and statements at you. You're going to answer with a 2-word phrase. This is one of those keys we talked about. You're going to say feeling clear. That's going to start a mantra meditation based on the mantra, accept the unacceptable. Okay. So
Okay.
some of these will be true, some of them won't be true, but they all have an emotional charge, and we're going to clear the emotions. Ready?
Mhm. Ready.
Isn't it important for you to know that I feel like I'm crazy?
Feeling clear.
Can I recognize that I didn't know success would be so challenging?
Feeling clear.
Isn't it overwhelming to me that everything's coming the way I've wanted it to?
Feeling clear.
Can I handle maneuvering my way through everything that I have to do?
Feeling clear.
Can I see that my mind goes to 1,000 different things that have to be done?
Feeling clear.
Doesn't it get very anxiety producing when I start thinking of what's not yet done?
Feeling clear.
What if I were to take the view of 30,000 feet and see how much I got done already?
Feeling clear.
When am I going to start believing in Kara and knowing that whatever she puts her mind to, she makes happen?
Feeling clear.
Can I see that she's been pretty good so far?
Feeling clear.
What if I knew beyond a doubt that she's going to even exceed my expectations?
Feeling clear.
Is it a time for me to trust and believe in her?
Feeling clear.
What if the opportunity here is to really cultivate some self-trust in a way that I feel safe?
Feeling clear.
What if I knew beyond a doubt that she's not going to let anything slip through the cracks? She's going to get everything done.
Feeling clear.
Can I trust that she may raise hell and make a lot of noise along the way, but she's going to get it all done?
Feeling clear.
Can I recognize that I'm a powerhouse and I know it?
Feeling clear.
Can I see that at times I feel like I bit off more than I can chew, but I didn't. I bit off just enough.
Feeling clear.
Isn't it important for you to see that I'm constantly working, constantly organized, and constantly streamlining?
Feeling clear.
Isn't this an opportunity for me to really be proud of my instrument and trust who I am?
Feeling clear.
Can I see that I wouldn't let her fail?
Feeling clear.
Can I see that my ego alone won't let her fail?
Feeling clear.
Can I see that my sense of organization won't let her fail?
Feeling clear.
Can I trust and know that I'm going to call forth all of the assistance I need in order to make the business that I want?
Feeling clear.
Can I recognize that I wanted to make sure it worked before I built my team?
Feeling clear.
Can I see that now it's working and I need my team?
Feeling clear.
What if I knew that they're on their way?
Feeling clear.
What if I knew that they're coming left and right?
Feeling clear.
What if I knew that I could get all the assistance I need at just the right times that I need it?
Feeling clear.
Can I recognize that if I fill my mind with those pictures and images, that's exactly what's going to happen?
Feeling clear.
Can I trust and know that I have a roadmap, I have a blueprint, and I'm following it, putting one foot in front of the other?
Feeling clear.
Is it a time for me to be excited about what I'm building and to trust it's going to get done?
Feeling clear.
Can I see that, knowing me, it's going to get done well?
Feeling clear.
Can I trust and know that I'm going to be successful, I'm going to be lucrative, I'm going to make a fortune, I'm going to put myself on the map?
Feeling clear.
Can I see that this has been my plan and this is what's happening?
Feeling clear.
Is it important for me to enjoy it?
Feeling clear.
Can I see that I'm doing it all? The missing ingredient is the joy.
Feeling clear.
Is it a time for me to start celebrating me?
Feeling clear.
Is it a time for me to take in that self-trust and that ease that comes with it?
Feeling clear.
Isn't it for sure that I'm going to do what I'm setting out to do?
Feeling clear.
Can I trust that the team is already there?
Feeling clear.
Can I see that success is already there?
Feeling clear.
Can I relax into it?
Feeling clear.
Okay. What was that like for you?
It was good. I mean, one thing that I want to highlight that I feel like is so profound and different from anything that I've ever experienced is you highlighting both the truth and like, you know, the lies per se, or like the falsification of my situation. And I think that's what really creates, you're like, it's like no stone unturned, you know? And I think that's what really helps shift my perspective or anyone's perspective. It's like that. I mean, I instantly feel just dropping into my heart center, honestly. I
Right.
instantly like feel a state of ease.
Yeah. And by the way, that experience is that I threw so much truth at you in so many different ways, in a way that you couldn't really argue it, right?
Right.
That it went in deep and it released. You know, truth expands, lies contract. And so you're going to feel that sense of expansion in you. And that's really the nature of the process.
Yes.
By the way, get Andrea to show you chakra phase, just out of curiosity.
Guys, I've been doing this for, 3 or 4 months, and I feel like I have like 4 or 5 of the keys in my toolkit, and I feel like I have only scratched the surface of what this process has to offer. Like, I have never been more excited about a method before. Like, I just commend you, and I'm like, I can't wait for other people in this community to try this, because I know it's going to change so many other people's lives.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm sure Andrea told you we offer a free session for people so that they can get the experience, because, you know, you're not going to get it by hearing it intellectually, right?
No, yeah. I mean, I wanted people to understand the nature of it and how it actually works, but there are so many other verbal cues, mantras, and I'm excited for everyone to try it. Yeah, definitely use that free session. And to wrap up, we do a series called Face Off, which is a series of quick fire questions that are meant to be answered in 2 to 3 sentences.
Oh, good.
You ready?
Sure.
Okay. How are you slowing down and resacreding life right now?
Slowing down and
Sacreding, like imbuing the magic back into your life.
Exactly. What's interesting to me is that I used to think everything was about quantity, and now I'm much more about quality. And savor is the right word, because every moment offers a plenitude of joy. So I'm savoring the moments.
Yes.
I'm older than you, so I have less moments, so I have to savor them more.
I think everyone needs to have like less is more, like the slowing down to speed up. It's cliche, but I think when you infuse intention more into the thing that you're doing, that's how you drink up like the joy of life. It's not by, piling more rituals into your routine. It's like, how can I savor this cup of coffee? How can I really sit in presence in this meditation? So I love that.
Yeah. Sweet simplicity. I love that.
Amen. What are you currently doing to learn and grow forward right now?
I am finishing the Paradox Process book, right?
Mm,
And I'm taking on the perspective of teaching. I'm trying to teach through this venue, through a writing venue, which is very interesting and challenging because it forces me to articulate in a different way, right? So I'm kind of learning a different language. You know, you can be tactile, you can be auditory, you can be visual, but this is about rendering on that writing level. So I'm getting a lot out of it. I'm learning a lot.
I love that. Writing a book is no joke. It's like
Yeah,
a different type of channeling
it
for
is.
sure.
Absolutely.
What's a recent challenge you faced that you were scared of, but you overcame?
Let's see. Aside from my younger son moving out, that's the most recent
Mm,
challenge. And yeah, the reason I was scared of it was I was anticipating an experience of loss.
mm,
But what's turning out is that it's an experience of creating a more level relationship, more
mm.
communicative, more I don't know, more friend than parent. So I was scared of what that transition was going to be, but I've discovered that it's richer and more interesting in its way.
It's beautiful. I love that. And last but not least, what is one thing you wish people knew about you?
I wish they knew about me. I was going to say how funny I am, but I think they do know.
He is quite funny, everyone. Yeah.
What is one thing? Wait, I wanted to, that's a worthy question. So let me think about that. I think what I'd want people to know is I don't often show, I think, how vulnerable or sensitive I am, but I really do. I'm a softie. I have, I'm a pushover. I could cry at a good commercial. Okay. So I think the vulnerability that's there so close to the surface.
That's why I think you and Brandon will get along because he is a sensitive soul as well. But I think that is a superpower when a man is actually able to embody a sense of like, yes, sacred, like softness within, like some feminine energy. We all have both. So
Yeah. Yeah.
using it. Awesome. And yeah, what can we expect from you growing forward overall with
I'm going to,
paradox process?
I'm going to continue. Yeah, all these years I was waiting for the right spokesman to bring this process forward into the world. They're not coming. So I'm going to continue to bring this out into the world. And my mission is to communicate honestly and simply in a way that it becomes accessible to people. I don't have an agenda. I have an incredible set of tools to offer people. And my legacy is that I want to change the conversation of emotions in the world in a way that they're not scary, they're not dangerous, they're manageable. And when you use them right, you can get everything and anything you want.
We're going to have you back again to dive deeper into manifestation as a whole because I feel like there's so much there. It's so multi-layered. And I think you are off to an incredible start. And everyone, he is not lying. This will really change your life. Like I can be a testament to that. And I'm excited for everyone to try out that free session. And lastly, where can everyone find you in Paradox Process?
You can find us at paradoxprocess.org. We do a Monday night class at 8 p.m. that you can sign up for. We're doing the Love series now.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Thomas. We'll have to have you back.